was mama daughter. Henny Atman, daughter. She is my daughter. Über Alexander daughter. He was mama daughter. Henny Atman, daughter. He was mama daughter.
My name is Hubert Devnish. I'm a linguist. I study Caribbean Creole languages, and I'm going to introduce you to one of the languages I study, Berbice Dutch Creole. It is a language that my great-grandmother would have spoken, and we're going to meet that language through the last known speaker of that language, Mrs. Bertha Bell.
Henny Hartman.
Henny Atman, daughter. She is my daughter.
She is my daughter.
Amelia.
Abel Alexander.
Über Alexander daughter.
What about Chiema?
Daughter.
You would have heard her say over and over again, Dotete, Dotete, Dotete. Dotete means in Berbice Dutch Creole, dead. And she was saying that after the names of all of the people who used to speak the language but who were now dead. For me, that was a requiem for a language. All of the speakers, all of the names, Berry and all of the others, were dead. And as we heard it, we thought about the origins of that word. The Do is from a language called Kalabari in southern Nigeria that means die, and then the Te means has died. But what has happened in Berbice Dutch Creole is that the whole form Dotete was borrowed from Kalabari and they added on another Te to it. So in a sense you have has completely died if you take the literal meaning. And as we listened, we simply heard Dotete, Dotete, Dotete. Requiem for a language. Languages are like people. They are born, they grow up, and then eventually they get old, and then they die. What we have here is Bertha Bell at 103 back in the year 2003, the last known speaker of a dying language. Guyana was made up of 3 former Dutch colonies, those of Berbice, Demerara, and Essequibo. Dutch Creoles were spoken in all 3 of these colonies, but Berbice Dutch Creole was quite special. It had a vocabulary in which about 40% of its basic words came from a single West African language, Kalabari, which is a member of what they call the Eastern Ijo language group. We have already heard about Dote and Te, but there are other words like Mingi for water, like Yefi for eat, like Beefy for speak, which also come from Eastern Ijo. Berbice Dutch Creole also took some of its basic vocabulary from Arawak, the indigenous language spoken in the coastal areas of Guyana near the former Dutch settlements. One of these words is likely to have been Berbice. This word is also used as the name for the main river which runs through the areas where Berbice Dutch Creole was formerly spoken. In 2003, everybody who knew anything about the language presumed that all the speakers were dead. But I got news from the linguist Ian Robertson, who had rediscovered the language back in the 1970s, that there was indeed at least one last speaker who was still alive. So we flew with a group of linguistics students from Trinidad and Jamaica down to Guyana. We traveled overland to Jubilee Ranch on the Berbice River, which was the site of plantation Pear Boom, which was owned by the founder of the Berbice colony, Abraham Van Peer, way back in the 17th century. We walked down the hill from the ranch to the Berbice River, the Birbishi as they call it. And we got into a speedboat which took us across the river, but slightly downriver as well. We disembarked and walked towards the home of Bertha Bell. As I was going along, was wondering to myself, just like everybody else, what it would be like to meet a 103-year-old woman who was the last representative of a language and culture that had all but disappeared. As we go along, you see the house to the right, which is the house of her children and grandchildren. We pass it and we duck under some wire and approach her house. We are going to meet this language through its last remaining speaker.
What say you are now?
My name Ian Robertson.
Robertson?
Where actually was she born, or where did she live when she was a child?
Okay. Wanga Ubante. Ubante Hiwi?
Rekubi.
Um,
Tara.
Matara. Ubante with Matara.
See, same right? Was when was the first time she heard English? Does she know?
Okay. Teacher wa Yungu. You learned Babish for you learned English?
Younger. It's just what younger. That's what. You review mine. Anyway. Maybe Dutch. Dutch. English and Dutch.
You will be fair English met a Dutch.
Moet school Dutch. Moet school in Dutch. Dutch mooi ka. Doe je boek mooi publicita. But English mooi publicita. Je moet be English. You so kekle is it.
How would you say the dogs eat the fish in Dutch Creole?
Dog eat fish.
Frag you, how should beefy the dog eat the fish in a Creole? Yeah. Under your fear?
The fish.
Fishy. And if you want to say the dog eat the fish yesterday,
Okay, so
guess what? The dog eat the fish.
the fish.
The dog gave the fish.
The dog might eat fish.
How do you say that in Dutch?
Huh?
The dog might eat some fish.
That might eat fish.
Might eat the fish. How about yefi the fish? What you man to you bante?
Met een baan te December.
You bante December?
Oli per dog. Plenty. Oli per dog.
What's enough dog?
Moose honden.
Mucho hondo.
Moose honden.
Mucho hondo.
Plenty dog.
Spirit.
Thank you.
To see how you go with it, son.
Bertha was having fun, the time of her life. And then came that tail end of the conversation where she said to one of the students, "See how your body them stand up?" Which means, see how your breasts are standing up and firm? And I think I know exactly what she was going to say after that if the students hadn't interrupted with that laughter of embarrassment. I think she was going to say that once upon a time, my breasts too were firm and standing up just like yours, and so too was my language and my culture. But now tell me, what do you think?